Self-explanatory. On your paper, you should have what's a conflict. Right? So 6 types of conflict. We're going to learn about the 6 types of conflict. The reason why we learn about the 6 types of conflict is you're about to write a literary analysis paper. That's a big boy, a big girl paper. So what that means is you're going to have to identify what conflict your character is going through. So if you pick 2 kinds, you're going to figure out what kind of conflict is Jing Mei going through. First, what is a conflict? Anybody? A problem, right? A conflict is a problem. If you don't want to write this whole thing, just put conflict equals problem. That's the simplest way. Right? An example is, if I was telling a story, said, I went on a date with Cardi B, and she said she had to go use the restroom and never came back. What's the conflict in that story? She left me, right? Another one. An Arctic adventurer struggles to survive hunger and cold. What's the problem? The guy surviving hunger and cold. He's about to eat people, right? A brother and sister fight over the control of the television. That used to be me and my sister. So these are problems. I have a tendency to go real fast. If I am, please let me know. And I'll have Mr. Gill post this on the Google Classroom if you didn't already. So every story worth reading has a conflict. I even tell my kids, we're sick people. We don't want to go to the movies and just see kittens and puppies playing all around for an hour and 30 minutes. You want to see blood, tears, gory, pain. That's what we want to see if we go to a movie. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we pay for. Right? Sometimes stories can have more than one conflict. Right? It doesn't only have to have one. There's 2 kinds of conflicts. Each have their subcategories. Number 1 is internal conflict. That's a struggle that takes place in the inside, in your mind. Out of the 6 kind of conflicts, there's only 1 kind of internal conflict. The rest are external. Who can tell me what internal means? Inside, right? So if internal means inside and conflict means problem, that means inside problem, right? And we get more deeper into that when we start going over the 6 categories, right? But I could give you one internal conflict, or maybe you can, right? You might have anxiety. That's a real internal conflict, right? You might be dealing with a loss, right? Pain, that's an internal conflict, because you're not fighting nobody else, it's just you. So internal conflict is not visible or it's not tangible. Tangible means you can't touch it, right? If somebody say, touch my love, you can't touch nobody's love. You can't touch nobody's hate. A character dealing with his or her own mixed feelings or emotion, that's what an internal conflict is. Cool? Right. Again, let me know if I'm going too fast. So, internal conflict, inside problem. If you want the short notes, inside problem. Emotions in my mind. A character may have 2. A character may have 2, decide between right or wrong, or between 2 solutions to a problem. You don't have to write this. The weasel and the necklace try to decide what to do. They wrestle with the decision to replace the necklace, right? So they wrestle with themselves on whether to replace the necklace. Internal conflict. And we'll get more into that. First, let's test ourselves. Internal conflict is not visible, difficult, or serious.
Visible.
Internal conflict is often referred to man versus man, which is man versus another person. Man versus external forces, which means outside forces, or man versus himself.
Man versus himself.
Good. Definition. What does external mean?
Outside.
So which means, this means what? Outside conflict, outside problem, right? So short version, this is outside problem. The struggle between a character and an outside force is an external conflict. And now the 6, we have 5 of these, and it's self-explanatory, I promise. Once I show you, you're gonna be like, bro, this is super easy. Yeah, please let me know if I'm going too fast. So example of external conflict. Characters may face several types of outside forces, right? The outside force may never be a character. It could be a character, it could be society, it could be nature, it could be any of those things. All right, so external conflict subcategories: man versus man versus environment or nature, man versus society. So let's give a test before we get deeper. Which is not an example of external conflict? Other characters, forces of nature, or decisions?
Decisions.
One subcategory of external conflict is man versus man. One subcategory is man versus himself, or man versus literature. Yeah. Jim and Mac disagreed about where they should take the dog they found, internal or external.
External.
Carly struggled to walk through the hot, blowing sand, internal or external.
External.
Let's do, Sarah couldn't decide what to do that night. Should she study or should she go out? Internal or external?
Internal.
Internal. She should go out. In the high winds, the crew was barely able to keep the ship from tilting sideways. Internal or external?
External.
Easy. Alright. Y'all get it. 6 types of conflicts. You don't have to write this down. We're gonna go to it one by one. You got person versus person, person versus self, society, nature, supernatural, and technology. All of these things mean exactly what you expect it to mean. And you'll see. Man versus man, what do you think that means? What's the conflict? Another person, right? It doesn't have to be one group. It can be, it doesn't have to be one person, it can be group. It could be OVO versus Taylor Gang, right? It could be 2 groups against each other. Right? Russia versus Ukraine, right? That's a man versus man problem. And I'll give you, I like using movies to show examples. I'll be back after these 10 minutes. Sorry, give me 1 second. Let me see if this works. Okay, maybe no movies. Because I can't get this sound to work. Does anybody know how to do it?
It's because you have the volume down on the video.
I'm gonna try one more time. If it doesn't work, we'll move on.
Just a big
There.
mistake. Huh? Right? Buddy?
Alright, so you have this central conflict. This is one of my favorite movies, classic. Alright, man versus man.
Ha! You're... Take us back to the room and then you can tell everyone that this was all just a big mistake. Huh? Right? Buddy?
I just want you to know that even though you tried to terminate me, revenge is not an idea we promote on my planet.
Oh, well, that's good.
But we're not on my planet.
Oh, no.
Right? So you see 2 problems. Let's get that. Alright. Sorry guys, I appreciate y'all. So 2. Next we have person versus self. again, self-explanatory. That's the only internal conflict that you will have. So the central character faces an internal struggle. Right? A young man goes through hard times after losing his father in a car accident. You might be going through a loss. An Olympic athlete pushes his performance to the limit despite his physical disability. So none of these problems here, you can't touch it. Right? These are things you have to go through in the inside. These are emotions or something mental. And I'll give you an example.
It turns out one of the fastest growing segments of people signing up for Mint are people over the age of 55. So I've decided to call.
My shoulder, Angel.
Don't listen to that guy. He's trying to lead you down the path of righteousness. I'm going to lead you down the path that rocks.
I'll come off it.
You come off it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You.
you Infinity. Listen up, big guy. I got 3 good reasons why you should just walk away. Number 1, look at that guy. He's got that sissy stringy
So
dude.
he's trying to contemplate whether he should kill the prince.
It's a heart, and you know it. All right, that's a heart, and that's a dress.
Rome.
Reason number 2, look what I can do.
What? What?
So you could tell me why this is in man versus self.
Having a hard time deciding.
Yes, right? He's arguing with himself, his angel side and his demon side, right? So that's why it would be man versus self. Who's seen that movie before? Okay, what? Next, you have person versus society. The central character or group of characters battles against tradition, institutions, and laws. So I'm gonna actually show you a real example from the real world. Right. So this is not me battling a person, this is me battling an organization. For example, it could be a student take his fight against the school dress code all the way to the Supreme Court. I know a lot of y'all will fight that, right? That's a societal thing. You go into Adam and you're saying, we don't want dress code. We don't want dress code. You're protesting, you're fighting against an organization. You're fighting against society.
Campus chaos. Pro-Palestinian demonstrations closing colleges across the country today, including right here in Northern California. The wave of unrest has led to hundreds of arrests and classes moved online.
Hunter Sowers joins us now in studio, speaking to students at Sacramento State, reacting to this ever-evolving change in the scene there.
Holly Humboldt, we're in the middle of the pro-Palestinian demonstrators clashing with police. This at Cal Poly Humboldt. The video shows students using chairs and furniture to barricade themselves inside a building.
Whenever there have been humanitarian crises overseas, it has always been the young people that speak out about it.
How is this person versus society? Somebody outside this table. Who are they fighting? A group. Which one? Who are they protesting against? The school, right? The institution, the laws. That's what makes it person versus society. If it was them fighting an army, it wouldn't be that. It would be person versus person. But they're fighting against change, to change laws, to change the institution, to stop a war, then it would be that versus society. Make sense? Cool. All right. I won't do this one. I think this one's pretty self-explanatory. Person versus nature. The central character struggles against animals, the elements, or other natural forces. Who could give me an example of that without me even having to show you? Huh? Tornado. I thought you said tomato. All right, tornado. Exactly. If I'm sitting here driving against a tornado, that would be person versus nature. Excellent. A castaway washes up on an island and must learn to survive with the available resources. If you never watched Castaway with Tom Hanks, that's a good movie, right? You're stranded on a private island, you gotta survive. That's person versus nature. And it could be person versus self, right? Remember, there could be more than one conflict in the story. It doesn't only have to be one. A ship captain pursues a great white whale through stormy seas. He's trying to catch this big white whale, or who watched Jaws? That would be person versus nature, right? Alright, two more, then we're all done. This person versus supernatural, again, that's just supernatural. The central character is challenged by forces that are not of this world. So that could be Vampire Diaries, or if you like bad movies, that could be Twilight. I'm just kidding, right? It could be Supernatural with Sam and Dean, anything like that. A boy wizard must use his power to protect his community from evil monsters. So things like Harry Potter, right? That would be supernatural. A group of teenagers sleep in a haunted house and begin disappearing one by one. That would be supernatural. And I'll actually show you the exact show.
Checking in.
That's
Lucifer, thanks for coming. Oh, you did right calling me. It's just the way the talk is heading in there. It's insane. You know, I never understood you pagans. You're such petty little things. Always fighting, always happy to sell out your own kind. No wonder you forfeited this planet to us. You are worse than humans. You're worse than demons. And yet you claim to be gods.
Right, supernatural. And if you like the show, this is actual called Supernatural. It's on CW. And last but not least, this one is pretty self-explanatory, so I won't show the video. But if you want me to, I can. Last one is person versus technology. So the central character struggles with or against the forces of technology. Who watched iRobot with Will Smith? That would be person versus technology. Transformers, person versus technology. I can't think of any other technology movie. Right, so a group of strangers get stuck in the elevator, right? The conflict, the problem is them being stuck in the elevator, person versus technology. A teenage boy is pursued by robots from space that transform into cars, person versus technology. And that's all the 6 types of conflict. Easy? Yeah. All right, y'all ready to practice real quick so I can go back? Yeah. Good, let's do it. Rainford being stuck in quicksand is an example of what? Man versus environment. You want me to leave? I need more people. Come on. A conflict cannot be categorized as man versus man when the struggle is with more than one character, there's a physical confrontation, or the opposition is not human. Good. Let's do 4. Call it a day. An elderly man struggles to learn how to use his new phone. What is it? Man versus technology, and the antagonist is cell phone, right? That's the opposing force. 2 boxers were formerly friends, compete for the championship belt. Man versus man, and the antagonist, the opposing force, is the former friend. 2 more. A young woman fights to gain admittance in an elite prep school that was only for boys. Person versus society, right? She's fighting against the system to allow girls into an all-boys school. Does that make sense? Cool. And last but not least, a group of colonists struggle to survive the winter in a strange land. Man versus nature, or person versus nature. Cool. That's it? Everybody got it? All right, can I get my applause? That's it. I'm going to tell Mr. Gill to give y'all some snacks. That was awesome. You know what? I might actually bring something for y'all.